Hi guys, this is OAA by Aaron Sparrowhawk. So the intro, we're going to be looking at 4 activities, and I'll go through the first one, and it is is the same sort of theme and presentation throughout. So let's go intro. So what is actually bouldering? Bouldering is an activity that is similar to rock climbing in a sense. It can be done inside and outside. There are facilities locally, such as Brighton Bouldering Centre. The difference is there isn't a harness. It's literally almost as if rock climbing without a harness. Obviously, where is it done? It can be done anywhere. It can be done in an environment, as long as it's approved to do that. You must have a license and must be with somebody that's trained to do that before you actually go out in the environment outside of inside facilities. And obviously locally, Brighton Bouldering Centre, that's a local place that you can go to if you want to compete in bouldering. So personal equipment. First of all, some bouldering centres make you wear a helmet, others don't. Brighton Bouldering Centre doesn't make you wear a helmet. However, a helmet can be considered personal protective equipment to cause any damage to the cranium. Chalk is sort of preventing you rather than actually protecting you, but chalk can be used to further your grip in footholes and grip holes and things like that along the rock face. And shoes is really important, simply because if you wear ordinary trainers, they're going to run straight through in a matter of minutes. Shoes protect your feet, protect your ankles, and also protect your joints when you land and things like that. So here we have a risk assessment. I'm going to be going through this quite quickly, but obviously pause and make note of other things if you want to. So we've got hazards, slipping on rocks or mishandling rocks and falling off the rock face. We've got clothing and getting clothing caught in boulders. We've got boulders too loose, bumping into other climbers, and client tearing muscle due to lack of warm-up. People at risk. In every one of these, the client's at risk. However, for the first one, it can be viewers and things like that as well. So controls in place. For the first one, we've got soft mats at the bottom to protect a fall, tight clothing that can be worn. We've also got all boulders must be secured and bolted into place, and we've also got climbers must ensure that they have planned their route fully and know where they're going. And all participants must have gone through a serious, significant warm-up in appropriate areas to the activity. And also we've got a risk rating here, so it's the likelihood of it happening. So here we've got a likelihood of 3 and a risk of 2, so that overall risk rating turns to 6, you times both numbers. So for that, obviously we've got a risk rating of 6. You like to have each activity below 9 if possible. If it's anything above 9, it won't be allowed to be done pretty much. So you've got clothing, we've got a likelihood of 1, so it's not really likely going to happen, but the risk could be actually quite substantial. So we've got an overall risk rating of 3. We've got boulders too loose, so that causes a likelihood of 2, and a risk rating of 4, so that causes an overall risk of 8. We've got bumping into people, likelihood 2, and a risk of 2, so it's not that massive, so overall risk rating of 4. And client tearing muscle, so the likelihood is 2, but the risk is quite high, so we've given that a 3, so that's an overall risk rating of 6. Further recommendations. What can be done in the future to actually prevent this happening even further? So we've got for the first one, ensure all climbers are cleared and offered chalk, and all viewers must be a safe distance away. We've got the second one, ensure all participants have been checked before climbing for jewellery and loose baggy clothing. And we also have a rotor in place to check the boulders. Ensure participants communicate with one another to avoid collisions. And finally, ensure they do specific related exercises to the session. So, environmental factors then. During bouldering, there are now environments, terrains and cliffs that are banned, and nobody is allowed to do bouldering within these certain areas. This is because whilst bouldering is a fairly peaceful activity, it does disturb nature. Flowers and wildlife in gaps and cubby holes and things like that are broken and ruined. Also, bouldering shoes sometimes have small spikes in them and studs for extra grip, which can actually destroy the rock face itself, and could damage the environment permanently. So that's why things like terrain, insects and wildlife, plants and rock face all get damaged just because of this one sport. So a lot of the places are now actually you're banned from actually doing the bouldering itself. So secondly, we're doing snowboarding now. So what is snowboarding? Snowboarding is a fast adrenaline-filled sport that can be done, it can be at times frustrating due to the sheer difficulty of the sport. Falls, trips and stumbles occur, and the sport isn't for the faint-hearted. It's a sport where you're working in correlation with the board, and that determines your success in general. Snowboarding can be done inside and outside, however there aren't a vast amount of indoor slopes and things like that, so you usually have to go to a natural slope. There aren't any natural slopes within the UK. This being said, you can visit an indoor facility in Milton Keynes which has real snow placed on the slope, which you can then ski or snowboard down, one or the other. So, what do you actually need for personal protective equipment for snowboarding? First of all, snowboarding you'll need a snowboard, which can cost up to £600, but that's not so much protective other than actually protecting your joints when you're falling. The main things that are protecting you are your boots when you're walking to and from slopes and things like that, your jackets and your trousers, which are actually protecting you from hypothermia and all sorts of other things like that. You've got goggles, which actually protect your wind resistance when going down the hill, and actually snow and ice and things like that hitting your face while you're going down. You've also got gloves, and gloves can actually protect you once again from things like frostbite, from hypothermia, and all sorts of other skin rashes and things like that just from grabbing things and this place actually being so hostile and cold. So we've done a risk assessment, just like the last one. Pause it to look in more detail, but I'm just going to quickly go through your hazards. Colliding with another skier or snowboarder, causing an avalanche, slipping whilst not in protective gear, hypothermia, and slipping off the cliff face. So, who will be affected? Participants for all of them. However, for the top two, you've also got viewers and coaches as well, and things like that. So, everyone else around, not just the participants, it's everyone in the area. So, controls in place. So, for the first one, ensure all routes are clear for viewers and are away from the runs by a certain safe distance. Keep the viewers away. Ensure all cliffs that can't be used are blocked off and everyone knows to stay away, and everyone should be staying in groups. Ensure participants always wear gripped boots and are mindful of the conditions, and that's actually the coach's job, or whoever's taking them's job, to actually constantly remind them you're in harsh conditions, be careful. For the fourth one, ensure all participants are wearing suitable full snow gear when outside. And finally, ensure all cliffs are safe and any that aren't are blocked off, as said before. So risk rating, for the top one, we've got 9. Obviously, that's 3 times 3. 3 for the risk, 3 for likelihood. Obviously, pause this again. Obviously, I can't go into full detail of it, but once again, if you need to look into further detail, pause it for these risk assessments. So we've got a risk rating of 5. We've got a risk rating of 6, a risk rating of 4, and a risk rating of 4 again. So further recommendations, what can be done in the future? We've got ensure participants are always aware of, or always communicating. Ensure participants are instructed to, or asked for instruction before leaving anywhere, so they need to actually tell the person who's looking after them or who's in control, can we go here or here or here. For the third one, ensure participants don't run or do anything strenuous outside without protective gear. For the fourth one, ensure all participants aren't exposed for too long or for long durations of time. And for the fifth one, ensure participants have knowledge of where the cliffs where they should and shouldn't be. So for the environmental factors of this, during snowboarding, the environment is very delicate. Many snowboarders have been penalised, fined for littering, denaturing the environment, and even, at times, they've actually been penalised for simply snowboarding where they shouldn't be. This is due to a number of things. Firstly, the wildlife on mountains is very uncommon, and snowboarding in places where you shouldn't be can literally send the habitat and wildlife away. Also, denaturing can involve ruining types of plants and things like that, and the general natural untouched cliffs and things like that, but it's mainly affecting the habitat and wildlife just because you're being there. And as a result, many natural places are now actually banning snowboarding and things like that. So for the third one, wakeboarding. Wakeboarding involves you balancing on a board while holding onto a rope with a secure handle. The rope is attached to the boats that's actually pulling you along the water or the waterfront. At high speeds. While this sport seems like there's a lot of technique, the sport seems simple, there's a lot of technique, posture and balancing involving you to be successful. Most wakeboarding is done on seafronts or lagoons. A local example is actually Hove Lagoon. It is obviously done outside. There's no indoor facility within the UK. There's one in America, but that's it. And it's actually a very common water sport. So, what's the personal protective equipment? First of all, during wakeboarding, all activities will be done in relatively deep water, so a life jacket is recommended to ensure you don't submerge or drown. Also, gripping gloves are used in order to prevent any damage to your hands when holding onto the handle, and increase with better chance of you actually staying on there and holding on. A strengthened cable is also used to prevent any cable coming loose or snapping, preventing any accidents occurring during that. Finally, a lightweight board is used in case of the board actually hitting you or anyone else, if it falls off or you hit yourself with it, whatever. This means damage won't be as severe or threatening due to the lightweight of it. Here we go, another risk assessment. Obviously, again, pause to look at greater detail. So the hazards are cable snapping and striking the participant, drowning in the lagoon, sea, lake, whatever you want to call it, letting go of the handle and hitting the water. Faulty boat could cause participant to actually hit the boat, and footholds coming too loose and the board actually coming off. So, who is affected? Participants, but all of them, but actually for most of them you've also got the viewers in the boat as well, because there's going to be a lot of people in the boat. There's not just going to be the driver, most of your friends, or they could be out as a group. They're all going to be in the boat as well, so they're also going to be affected by most of these as well. So controls in place: ensure the cable is modern and secure, ensure the participants are wearing the life jackets and are strong swimmers, ensure all participants are wearing gripped gloves, ensure the boat has been approved and has done a 30-point check. There's a 30-point check sheet for every time you do a sport on water for boats and things like that. Ensure the boat has been approved, that's done a 30-point check. Ensure the footholds are secure and clipped in before participants actually compete in any activity. So, we've got a risk rating of 3 for the first one, a risk rating of 3 for the next one, risk rating of 9 for the third one, so that's actually quite high. So they'll probably have to do the best what they can to actually sort this out. It's quite a hard one to do because even you can only do so much at some point. For the fourth one you've got a risk rating of 5, and for the bottom one you've got a risk rating of 3. So what's future recommendations? First one is ensure that all cables are replaced regularly. Ensure all life jackets aren't punctured and are always checked to make sure that swimmers don't submerge and things like that. Ensure handles are replaced regularly. Ensure the boat is regularly serviced, and ensure all boards are replaced after so many years. So environmental factors then. First of all, you've got water pollution. And whilst wakeboarding may not cause harm to anyone, it does come into contact with wildlife as well. The simple presence of people being there, as we said in snowboarding, affects the wildlife in the area and the habitat of the local wildlife. Dramatically, wildlife at times abandons the habitat and areas because people are wakeboarding and competing in the water sports. Another environmental, of course, is the boat does cause gases and creates harmful gases, which once again can be affecting the local wildlife, but it can actually also pollute the lake as well and make it less hygienic. Finally, boats and water sports cause ripples and waves which can build up and slowly and actually cause things like plants and things like that and to snap and break. So the final one, what is actually skydiving is considered a sport with the most amount of risk. Accidents rarely happen, but there is always a chance. Skydiving involves serious concentration and nerves of steel to actually be done, thousands of meters up in the air. And the most local place is probably a skydiving area in Bromley, which is actually still quite far, but that is the most local place. So, for personal protective equipment, we have the goggles that's protecting your eyes against wind resistance and other dust particles. Helmet, which is actually protecting your landing more than anything. The harness that is actually attaching you to the parachute. The parachute, of course, is protecting you from falling in the first place. And finally, windsuit, which is actually protecting your whole body from the wind resistance itself. So here we go, another risk assessment. I'm not going to go through it in as much detail, but we've got obviously the 5 hazards here. It's all affecting the participants. The hazards are parachute not opening, colliding with other people, hitting the edge of the plane, landing awkwardly, and harness coming loose. Controls in place are all there. Ensure all parachutes have been packed properly. Ensure there is an order before the person jumps. Ensure the jumper is tucked away. Ensure all participants have been trained how to land appropriately. Ensure all harnesses have been checked before jumping. And we've got a risk rating of 5, 4, 3, 4, 5. And once again, all these are ensuring that the participants have been checked, the parachutes have been checked, the landing area has been cleared, ensure the participants don't touch the harness, and ensure participants have been taught how to dismount properly. So for environmental factors, there's not a lot, but while skydiving doesn't come into contact with wildlife, the air pollution is massive, and the fuel that it creates is absolutely horrible. And it does affect the O2 and oxygen in the air. Also got only certain engines are allowed, other engines are banned because they run on illegal fuel, which harms the environment too much. And whilst most landing zones are clear, sometimes landing zones occur in shrubs and bushes, which obviously kills plantation and surrounding wildlife and things like that.